Generally, when parents think when baby has fever, sometimes the baby gets convulsion of which is also known as seizure, और बच्चे को झटके आते हैं. So इसमें क्या करना चाहिए और ये क्या होता है? Hi, I am Dr. Swati Singh and welcome to the Care Couch, where honest conversation happens regarding baby and mother care. So Kavya, you deal with more of neuro cases, brain cases like your cerebral palsy or ADHD, autism or stroke. So can you tell more about yourself and can you tell how your day-to-day activity is?
So myself, Dr. Kavya Rajarajan, I am a consultant pediatric neurologist. So every day I deal with children who are having neurological conditions, those mainly epilepsy, autism, ADHD and developmental delays, and sometimes we deal with rare disorders, those who are having neurogenetic disorders and pediatric stroke, headache, tumors, those kind of children.
Generally, when parents think when baby has fever, sometimes the baby gets convulsion of which is also known as seizure, और बच्चे को झटके आते हैं. So इसमें क्या करना चाहिए और ये क्या होता है?
So हम बोलते हैं ये सिंपल फेब्राइल सीजर्स है, बिकॉज वो लेस देन 5 years बच्चों में होता है, फीवर के साथ होता है. यूजुअली द डे वन ऑफ फीवर ओनली इट विल हैपन एंड अपने आप 5 minutes के अंदर सेटल हो जाता है. ऐसे होता है तो टेंशन की बात नहीं रहती है. ये सिंपल फेब्राइल सीजर्स बोलते हैं.
Okay, so basically you're dealing with more of neurological cases and developmental cases as well.
Yes.
So febrile convulsion, which is used, as you said, simple febrile convulsion. Usually if the child comes to us, the parents are very panicked. So what a parent can do at home if the child is having seizing or having a febrile convulsion at home, and what he should not do?
Okay. Yes, that is one right question, because we need to know what we should not do during that phase, because जब भी बच्चों को ऐसे झटके आते हैं पेरेंट्स को डेफिनेटली डर लगता है. सो इन दैट पैनिक मोड दे यूजुअली गो एंड ट्राई टू रिस्ट्रेन द चाइल्ड फ्रॉम हैविंग द जर्क्स. प्लीज डोंट डू दैट. सो एनी टाइम when your child have a jerk, please don't restrain the child from that movements, because that will cause more harm than the good, because it will cause injury to the child. So जब भी आप देख रहे हो बच्चों को झटके आ रहा है, द फर्स्ट थिंग यू शुड नॉट गेट पैनिक. आई अंडरस्टैंड इट विल बी, बट फर्स्ट मेक योर चाइल्ड ऑन वन साइड, either लेफ्ट साइड और राइट साइड, बिकॉज दैट विल प्रिवेंट चाइल्ड फ्रॉम गेटिंग चोकिंग. बिकॉज ड्यूरिंग द सीजर चाइल्ड का वो सैलिवा रहता है, वो जाके थ्रोट में अटक जाता है, दैट विल गिव अस प्रॉब्लम. सो जस्ट मेक द चाइल्ड लाई डाउन ऑन वन साइड एंड जस्ट ऑब्जर्व. सो यू नीड टू ऑब्जर्व द टाइम. If it is lasting for more than 5 minutes, then you have to take the child to the hospital. But if it settles on its own, you need not worry much. And please don't put any spoon or any metals or something inside the mouth to prevent them from getting injured. So those things you please don't do.
Yeah, so basic takeaway message would be don't put anything when the child is seizing inside his mouth, because it can harm and not prevent it from any other complications. So when we were talking about general febrile convulsions, so when it turns into epilepsy, so when do you call a seizure which is going into an epilepsy, and what are the symptoms which an epilepsy can present it?
Epilepsy is a disease as such, so seizure is a symptom of epilepsy. Epilepsy हम कब बोलते हैं? If at all it is happening very frequently. So childhood epilepsy is completely different from adult epilepsy, because the age of onset of seizure itself varies. So less than 3 months बच्चों में भी फिट आता है, 3 years बच्चों में भी आता है, 13-year-old adolescent में भी आता है. But the diagnosis completely varies and the prognosis, what we prognosis like, ये epilepsy को दवाई कितने साल तक लेना है, या ये एपिलेप्सी लाइफ लॉन्ग रहता है क्या नहीं, वो सब चीज़ चेंज होता है एज ऑफ ऑनसेट के वजह से एंड डायग्नोसिस के वजह से. सो हमको एक बार एपिलेप्सी डायग्नोसिस बन गए, हमको वो कॉज फाइंड आउट करना बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट होता है. सो उसके लिए आप आपके डॉक्टर के साथ बात करके वो डायग्नोसिस तक आपको जाना पड़ेगा, सो दैट यू विल अंडरस्टैंड द डिसीज वेल.
So what are the symptoms which you should not ignore any time if it is a convulsion or it is epilepsy? What are the symptoms basically you would tell parents not to ignore it?
So when it comes to childhood epilepsy, there are multiple manifestations. अभी हमको अडल्ट में झटके आता है तो हमको फिल्म्स में देखे होंगे, पूरा बॉडी हिलता है, आंख ऊपर चले जाता है, ये होता है फिट्स. बट बच्चों में अलग अलग तरीका फिट्स होती है. कैसे? जब बात करते करते ऐसे चुप हो जाता है बच्चों, वो भी एक टाइप ऑफ फिट होती है, वो हम बोलते हैं एब्सेंट सीजर्स. वो कॉमनली 3 years से 6 years एज के बच्चे में होती है या
So can I know absences will last for how long? कितने टाइम तक के बच्चे एकदम सीधा एक तरीके से सीधा ही देख रहा है, मतलब कोई he is not blinking his eyes
Yes.
and he is just looking straight forward. So
Yes.
how do we know कि he is just thinking something or he is having an absent seizure?
वेरी राइट क्वेश्चन बिकॉज समटाइम्स पेरेंट्स सोचते ये डे ड्रीमिंग है एंड कभी कभार हमको टीचर्स भी ऑब्जर्व करके बोलते हैं क्लास में बीच बीच में ही इज जोनिंग आउट सो in such cases you have to keep noticing because in case of absence epilepsy it will happen almost 30 to 40 times in a day and each event also lasts for almost 30 to 40 seconds or sometimes it is very brief, less than 20 seconds also. They just go blank and then suddenly within a few seconds they will come out of it and they won't remember for the particular 10 seconds. Even in class they say they used to take down some notes and immediately they will pause for the 10 seconds and they'll again resume it.
Okay.
So that is again sign of absence epilepsy and sometimes along with that pause they will do something like oral automatism they do. Sometimes they'll do their picking habit, like they'll do something with their buttons or dress and that is also one of the sign that it is a absence seizure.
Okay. So usually now generally what we see is the child is very hyper or you say the parents keep on saying कि नहीं हमारा बच्चा तो बहुत ज़्यादा एक्टिव है, बहुत ज़्यादा शैतानी करता है. So how do we differentiate a normal child who's being active or who's doing a lot of mischief in the class or at a house, or is it he falling into any spectrum like an ADHD or autism?
So yeah, ये अभी हम भी ज़्यादा देख रहे हैं हमारा OPD में. But any time when the child is so hyper, whenever that hyperactivity is affecting their daily activities, like if for example if you take a 5-year-old boy or 6-year-old boy who is going to school but school से आने के बाद आप बोल रहे हो like book खोलो पढ़ो यार, if you are trying to make him sit for 15-20 minutes and if you feel even that 15-20 minutes में he is getting out of his chair for almost 10 times, then it is definitely hyperactivity which is concerning his daily activity. So then you need to meet your neurologist and then get evaluated for it so that we can start any kind of therapies immediately so that it won't affect his future.
How do you say if the child is having ADHD or autism and what are the signs a parent should look for at home? Okay, my child is falling into a spectrum, so what are the signs or symptoms what we should look for?
Yes, autism and ADHD का signs we can see it even in less than 1 year of child. कैसे होता है तो if you take a 8 months or 9 months old child and they are sitting and playing and you are calling them with their name and they are not responding to you. Responding means they may not even talk, at least they will turn at you and look at you, but वो miss हो रहा है and that is a red flag that you need to address. Another thing what happens, the child will do the repetitive things. अभी toys भी ले लो, एक ही type का toys चाहिए, सिर्फ कार ही चाहिए, सिर्फ ट्रक्स ही चाहिए, ऐसे there will be some fixations to the objects and sometimes what happens they'll talk something, self talking भी होता है कोई बच्चों में. So these are the early signs of autism that we can say. Another thing, once they cross that 1 year 1.5 years then their speech gets delayed. So we think it is only the speech delay. No, isolated speech delay कैसे रहता है, बच्चों at least body language से हमारे साथ बात करते हैं, but in autism they don't have that. It is mainly a communication delay. They don't even look around and they'll play alone in their own world.
They don't interact with other kids also usually.
Correct. They won't mingle with other kids. So that is the core feature of autism. When it comes to ADHD, as I said, so it will affect their daily activity. So even a 1-minute task, they will get distracted multiple times. So then it is falling under ADHD. Both for autism and for ADHD, we have DSM criteria and we have some scales so that whenever you get some doubt, okay, हमारा बच्चों को किसी ने observe करके भी बोले, mostly हम अभी recently देख रहे like nursery में, play group में या कुछ school से teachers notice करके parents को बता रहे एक बार दिखाइए करके. So please don't get offended. Just एक बार evaluate कर लीजिए because early evaluation is always better, that too in case of all this autism, ADHD, learning disabilities, because we can do multiple therapies on the children to make their life better.
And they can improve as well. So you don't have to feel resistant or don't have to feel, take it to your heart. No, the teacher ने ऐसा बोल दिया कि आपका बच्चा normal नहीं है. Please एक बार, therapist doesn't mean that your child has a lot of severe issue or something. It can improve, and this is a method of improving your child daily activity and daily life.
Exactly. Because what parents usually do is whenever somebody is observing and telling these things, they take it into their heart and they are they take mainly it as a criticism, and usually they'll find some reasons to ignore it. वो एक क्या होता है ना, दूसरे सिस्टम का कुछ प्रॉब्लम हो, अभी आस्मा है या कुछ भी पेट का प्रॉब्लम है, वो बार बार सिम्टम्स दिखता है बाहर, सो दे विल डेफिनेटली go to a doctor. If they'll have respiratory problem, if their child is having frequent vomiting, they'll definitely go to a doctor and show. But if there is something like this, speech delay है या फिर behavior problems है, वो क्या बोलेंगे, मेरा पापा भी वैसे ही लेट बात कर रहे थे, मेरा मम्मा भी ऐसे ही हाइपर थे, इसके वजह से बच्चों भी ठीक हो जाएगा
करके. There's a problem in acceptance that your child has falling into a spectrum rather than getting it treated. They feel that they get offended and acceptance is less.
Yeah, exactly. So
okay. So usually what parents think, how me being a doctor, you being a doctor, we have met these parents who come to us and they feel ki why only our child has got this thing, ADHD or an autism. Have we eaten something during our pregnancy, or we have shown the kid a lot of television or a screen? So what do you think, what are the causes of an autism or ADHD?
So yes, this is a very common question that we get from parents. So always sometimes they'll go into that guilt phase that something they have done during their pregnancy or they are doing right now that had caused autism. Definitely not, but definitely there are some multi-factors playing on this. So far there are only few genes that they are saying it can lead to autism, but overall there is no specific cause to say why this child is getting autism. So don't take any guilt on yourself. Only thing what we can say is nowadays we are seeing so much of nuclear families where the child is getting exposed to screen time for a long, so that definitely can be a trigger for autism, but nowhere studies are there to say that screen time is causing the autism. But कोई भी बच्चों को autism का trait है वो definitely बढ़ जाता है if we give more screen. Otherwise so far there is no scientific facts that they are saying that maternal food intake or something specifically that had caused autism to a child.
Okay. So usually there are childs who don't sit or walk or they don't speak too much with the normal age group of the similar child. If one child is there who's sitting, talking and walking, and the other child of the same age is not sitting, walking or not speaking, and he cannot do his daily activity. So what do you think what the child has? Can you know us what would be the diagnosis?
Yes, so always we call it as first it is a developmental delay. There are multiple domains. Motor developmental delay is there, and sometimes social delay and speech delay. So what you are addressing is the child is having difficulty in sitting and walking. So it is a problem of the movement and posture. So basically the child may fit into cerebral palsy. A cerebral palsy एक word है, वो सुनते ही parents को डर जाते हैं because it is like they think that it is a lifelong problem, those things. But cerebral palsy is a स्टैटिक प्रॉब्लम, दैट मीन्स ब्रेन को एक ही बार कुछ डैमेज हुआ होगा, उसके कारण बच्चों में डेवलपमेंटल डिले है. बट कितना जल्दी हम वो इवेलुएट कर रहे, देयर आर मल्टीपल गुड फिजियोथेरेपी मेथड्स दैट कैन मेक द चाइल्ड्स पोस्चर एंड मूवमेंट बेटर एंड दे विल बिकम इंडिपेंडेंट as soon as you start the therapy.
So how early we can start the therapy for a cerebral palsy child and the medication or a treatment, and they can improve, or how it will be for lifetime?
So in case of cerebral palsy, as you asked this question rightly, because how early we can start the therapy, we can start even day one of life. That is called early intervention therapy, where we start the therapy from when the baby is in the NICU itself, because neuroplasticity, so it all depends on neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is nothing like the adaptability of the brain. वो brain को हम कितना signals दे रहे, कितना stimulation दे रहे, उसके वजह से brain थोड़ा adapt हो जाता है. So that capability of the brain is very high when the child is under 2 years of age, and it goes around maybe we can say 70 to 80% till 5 years of age, and after 5 years it is very difficult. It can be done, but it is very difficult. So as early as possible, if we start the therapy, the outcome will be really good. And in case of cerebral palsy, there are other interventions also. It is not only about movement and posture. Some children will have seizures with them, some children will have constipation, some children will have learning disability. So you need to have a regular follow-up with your pediatrician and pediatric neurologist, so that whenever possible at that point of time we will provide them the proper guidance and proper treatment.
And one takeaway message, like they should not stop the therapy, because once we have seen a lot of kids coming to the hospital, once the therapy has been interrupted or stopped in between, the child comes with very stiffness, the body is very stiff, they have difficulty in the movements. So what would you advise for them?
Exactly. So therapy, we should not stop without any doctor's guidance. And first of all, these children definitely will need therapy for a longer period of time, even for years. Only thing is we can change the intensity of the therapy, duration of the therapy, and sometimes we actually change the therapy model, not from the physiotherapy, and then we'll eventually move them into proper playing. Like they can go for basketball, football, or whichever is specific for that kid. So we can change it eventually into exercise things or sports thing. So you should not immediately stop the therapy. And also medications, usually what parents do is whenever a doctor prescribes a medication, they will just take it for 3 months and 6 months. They think it is a longer period and they'll stop it. No, in case of cerebral palsy, they have to take medications for even 2 years, 5 years, even 10 years for some children, because there will be some abnormal signals coming from the damaged brain that we have to stop with the help of medications. And also in orthopedics also, they might have to have some procedures, like if even after giving medications, if their limbs are very tight, we can go for Botox therapy,
yes.
or sometimes we can go for tendon repair surgeries. So these all they have to do for the children, so that the child will move easily and they'll become independent.
So a lot of times we have seen children, they were walking normally and suddenly they have difficulty in walking or they have muscular pain. So what is it and what would be the diagnosis for these kind of children?
Yes, if a normal child suddenly having difficulty in walking and if they are getting frequent falls, then it is definitely a red flag. So there is a condition called muscular dystrophy, which is the commonest one is Duchenne muscular dystrophy. वो एक genetic condition होती है, उसमें mostly male children ही affect हो जाते हैं, and they will have frequent falls, and whatever they were doing before, that also will become difficult gradually. So for example, वो पहले stairs वगैरह climb करते थे, अभी they are taking more time to climb the stairs, and getting up from the sitting position will be difficult for them. So these are the signs that the child can have muscular dystrophy, but we need to address it early, and we have to first get the diagnosis so that we can help the child better.
Okay. So a child had a fall, then he had an episode of vomiting, and then he felt dull and he was not speaking anything. What the parents should do at this time?
Yes, head injury is one common thing that happens in every house almost. Then the parents get panic definitely. But there are 3 important signs that they have to see in their child whenever the child have a head injury. One thing, whenever the child goes, as you said, वो drowsy हो रहे हैं, dull हो रहे हैं, then they have to meet their doctor. Second thing, whenever the child had vomiting, 2-3 times vomiting after getting a head injury, or if the child had any bleeding, no safe bleeding or ear bleed, then they have to meet their doctor immediately. Or sometimes the child even throw fits, वो time पे भी आपको doctor को दिखाना चाहिए.
So nowadays childs do sleep very less because of their daily activities, or usually they have a less sleep pattern and irregular sleep pattern. So do you think this can hamper the child's brain development, and in what conditions it would hamper?
Thank you for asking this question, because we deal with this problem every single day in our OPD practice, irrespective of the age group. Sleep is one important thing which is required in all of our lives, and especially if it is a growing brain, because whatever the child learns throughout the day, which gets registered only in their deep sleep. Parents क्या सोचते हैं, तो बच्चा ने 8 घंटे सो गया, so it is enough. So that is not the thing. If the child sleeps at 1 a.m. and getting at 9 a.m. is definitely not acceptable, because the regular normal hormone which is called melatonin, which gets secreted in all of our body, but it should get secreted at the particular time period. So abhi regular time, if we have to take, at least by 9 to 10 p.m. the child should go to bed, and you have to change your daily routines to make the child sleep at a proper timing. I understand many of the parents, they come back late and they play with their dads in the late night. So please avoid that, because making them sleep very late will affect many of their development. For example, they will have memory issues, sometimes they can have learning problems, and that can also lead to hyperactivity at times, and more often we are seeing children with anxiety. And when we come to the age group of around 9 to 11 years, 12 years children, we see very commonly they are coming to us with migraine. So migraine is also one of the common headache condition that we see in pediatrics, but the main trigger will be sleep. So whenever they have a disturbed sleep, or whenever they have a very delayed sleep, that definitely triggers migraine in those children.
Okay. So can you tell us more about the triggering factors of migraine in a childhood? So what could be, like, either it could be a sunlight or eating something. What are the triggering factors?
Yes, migraine do have some specific triggers. When the child have more exposure to some direct sunlight or some glittery lights also during when they go to party and all, and if they take more of junk foods, which is more contains more sugar and preservatives, then that can also trigger migraine. Usually when you ask the child or the family, they will have some kind of family history. So some father or mother also would have had this migraine in their adolescent period. And there is one more thing, whenever the child had that travel sickness we see around 3 years to 4 years, they used to puke whenever they go travel in early morning and all. Those children also have a tendency that they can have migraine in their adolescent period. So these kind of triggers they can notice and then they can prevent from them.
So do you think that it increases their hyperactivity, or how does it affect their brain while they're eating and they're watching a screen?
Okay, so how I've explained about sleep, sleep is very much important. The screen time is very dangerous to the growing brain, because even if the child doesn't eat for 1 or 2 days, it's not going to affect overall the child's health. We do see very commonly that parents are giving screen time for just making their child to eat. But it is not only about making the child eat, but what the child is getting from that screen time is very important, because whenever the child is exposed to screen for a long time, it will definitely affect their brain growth. Overall, the screen time is causing them very anxious, because whatever they see, the screens are changing very fast, and the colors that they are exposed to, it's very stimulative and so attractive. So whenever the child is getting a free time or something, they are not able to handle their boredom, then they'll start asking for the screens, not only for eating, for other activities also. And whenever you are going out, if you are traveling also, they'll start asking for the screen. So it is definitely not recommended, and there is a WHO guidelines also where they are saying less than 2 years child you should not give
show
mobile
screen,
at all.
yes.
Yes, and 1 to 2 years child you can give maximum 1 hour a
1
day,
hour.
and it includes everything. It not only mobile, it includes mobile, iPad, TV, whatever screen it is. And more than 2 years, if you are giving them for educational purpose or something, please restrict to less than 2 hours a day, because it will affect their sleep, it will affect their memory definitely, and it can lead to some behavioral problems where they told
Lot of tantrums they usually throw nowadays, that if you don't give them screen when they want, then they start crying, they start lying down on the floor, and they start, sometimes they even start to bite you or hit you because they want the mobile. And when they are young, they cannot express that much because that much of communication is not there. So usually we see tantrums kids are throwing if we don't give them screen.
Yes, maybe someone will be watching now and they'll be thinking that every day they are also facing the same situation. Okay, even now it is not late. Please stop giving screens to your child. Let them throw tantrums for 2 or 3 days, and then gradually they will get adapted to whatever is available for them. So please don't encourage screen time for your child.
And usually if they're seeing screen and eating, they don't even understand the texture of the food what they're eating, and they cannot even differentiate what are they eating, or they don't know how the taste is of a food if they're watching screen, and they get distracted because of that. So what would you suggest that what they can do instead of not giving a screen, what parents can do to feed them?
Okay. Yes, definitely we can distract them to other activities. When we were also small, our mothers used to say like, "Kaise आटा बनाना है, डो बनाना है," या फिर even if they are doing some rotis and all, they used to call us and show how it is made. वैसे आपका daily activities में भी start involving your children, whatever household chores it can be. So you just involve them, you teach them what all it is, whether they understand or whether they are going to follow, don't worry about that, but keep involving children in those activities also. And you can use shape sorters and you can use clay, so in that way you can try to distract your child.
And in normally while weaning, what I would advise is you give them a plate full of your foods, so that they can mash, they can play, so that they understand the texture, and they let them eat by themselves and not feed. So if we keep on feeding, they will not understand the texture, the fine motor development won't be there that much. So it is better that let the child play with the food and for 5-10 minutes, and then you start feeding if you want.
Exactly. So by the time when they are playing, you can even tell them what all it is, what all it contains, so that the child eventually get to understand importance of food.
So usually there are a lot of rare conditions in neurology also, be a genetic, So can you just specify what are the genetic neurological conditions which are there in a childhood?
Yes, there are multiple neurogenetic disorders also. For example, there is spinal muscular atrophy, Duchenne muscular dystrophy, there is neuronal ceroid lipofuscinosis. Like that, many diagnoses are there. But what is the role of parent here is whenever there is a doubt of any kind of genetic disorder, please get evaluated early and get the diagnosis, because getting a diagnosis is very important in treating genetic disorders, because nowadays even gene therapies are coming for many neurogenetic disorders. So whenever there is a doubt and when a doctor is prescribing you some investigation, please get it done. And I want to clarify one thing here: whenever the parents hear the genetic word, they suddenly there will be some pause in them, they thinking that okay, mera family to bhi sab kuch theek hai,
Everyone is okay. Why you're talking
yes.
about genetic?
Yes, so there is two things, which is one is genetic and one is inherited. Whenever there is an inherited problem, that comes through families, but there are de novo conditions where the mutation happens only in the child. So don't get worried about that. So early diagnosis will give definitely a better outcome for the child.
Okay. So now one last question. We do have pediatric neurotumors, and what will be the sign or symptoms, how the child will present to you, or how the parent should understand that, oh, my child can have something and it is not normal and we need to go and show to a doctor right now?
Yes, there are few important signs that parents should not miss, because whenever there is early morning vomiting or severe headaches, so in that cases they should definitely meet a neurologist and get evaluated. These are major signs and symptoms. There are few subtle signs where the child feel weak of one side of the body just for few seconds or few minutes, and then they come back to normal. Even while talking also, the parents would have noticed there is some kind of slurred speech that happens for few seconds, and then again the child goes back to normal. These kind of subtle signs also, they should not miss it, because this is also can be a sign of tumor or a stroke.
So these signs should not be usually missed, and thank you for explaining us in so much of detail. And if these signs are there, the parents should actually go and show to a neurologist. Instead, if the vision issue is there, we're showing it to ophthalmologist. But other symptoms associated with not seeing properly or having blurred vision, then if headache is there, walking difficulty is there, vomiting is there, then they should consult a neurologist.
Definitely.
So after listening so many neurological symptoms, so many neurological disease, the parents must be feeling very anxious and they must be thinking what to do. So what would be your advice to them?
So always, whenever you find something abnormal in your child, don't get panic, because once you panic, or even nowadays what parents do is they directly go to Google or they go to ChatGPT and search, and it will give you lots of diagnoses which makes you worry even more. So whatever I suggest is, parents are really a very good observers of their children. If you feel anything abnormal in your child, please go meet your doctor and get evaluated. That will give you a proper solution.
Okay. So thank you, Dr. Kavya, for explaining every neurological condition, be it your cerebral palsy, ADHD, autism, or any muscular dystrophies. So thank you for explaining us. And if you have any query regarding any neurological symptoms, please do comment below and stay tuned for next episode on Care Couch.